Coming up on the end of the 4th season of Teen Titans, we come to an episode that I've just never liked, while at the same time not hating it either. I've just been extremely indifferent towards this episode for the entirety of my knowledge of its existence. I couldn't care less about it if I tried, frankly. Like, it's not even as if the subject matter of the episode, which is a little odd, it's basically a version of the whole Hansel and Gretel thing with the Titans standing in for the titular siblings, the villain of the episode even threatening to bake them into a pie and eat them. And seeing as how I am realizing more and more each day that manipulative parents and or parent-like figures who put their children in danger is apparently an anxiety trigger for me, this episode doesn't disturb me at all, really. I'm just bored by it. I've always been bored by this episode, and I can't quite put my finger on why. Though, I suspect it has something to do with the fact that even as a kid, I recognize that this episode could have been so much more than it actually is. I see so much potential in this episode, and it's nothing. It rounds out as nothing. The plot of the episode goes that the Titans are mysteriously, suddenly, out of nowhere, living with a kindly old woman, seemingly anyway, who calls herself Mother Mae-Eye, and it's spelled like this. And they all act towards her like a kindly, doting, conservative mother type might wish her kids would act. They're very complacent, they're very loving, and they seem... They're very youngish. They're acting much younger than they actually are physically. They seem to genuinely believe that Mother Mae-Eye is their mother, and they believe that she's been there the entire time that they've been the Titans and lived in the tower. And she's clearly got them hypnotized via eating magic pies that she can conjure out of nothing, which is odd, because you'd think if she could conjure the magic pies that make them hypnotized out of nothing, she could just cast some kind of hypnotism spell on them directly, but whatever, it's fine. And there are times when they start to break through the hypnotism. Mother Mae-Eye has clear limits to her powers in terms of how effectively she can hypnotize them over a long period of time, which is something that I will give the episode credit for. The limits to her hypnotic abilities are actually pretty well defined. Like, when they get an alert that the Hive 5 are attacking and want to go on a mission to stop them, Mother Mae-Eye is confused and doesn't want them to go, which gets Robin thinking that that doesn't make sense. If she's always been here and they go on missions all the time, then she must know what the missions are and she must let them go, right? So she lets them go, and this is actually a pretty funny scene, honestly. She puts Raven in a dress, and she puts Starfire in a sweater. She puts Beast Boy in a bunny costume, so he won't need to turn into an animal because he already looks like one. She takes Robin's weapons away, which isn't nearly as funny as the other ones. And Cyborg puts himself in a raincoat, which I guess is kind of funny. Like, he's always kind of competed for the top spot with Robin. Now he's kind of competing with the others for Mother's favorite by trying to get ahead of what she would tell him to do. I guess that's kind of clever. I'll give the episode that much. But because these things are magical, like the bunny suit, for example, limits Beast Boy's ability to change. He can't transform in it. And similar stuff happens throughout the rest of the fight. Raven's like tripping over her dress and stuff. And so they lose to the Hive 5, which includes this guy who I literally did not remember existed before watching this episode again. Like, he left no impression on me as a child at all. And also, just FYI, I don't know if you guys caught this or remember that it's even in the episode. I don't know how recently you guys watched these episodes, but this weird eye-themed guy totally pervs on Starfire here. It actually kind of weirded me out. But anyway, they lose to the Hive 5, and Mother Mae-Eye has to come in and save them. And she's powerful enough to lay the smackdown on the entire Hive 5 herself. But in the process, Starfire gets whacked on the head, the hypnotism goes completely, and she's able to see Mother Mae-Eye for who she is. She orchestrates the others to rebel against her, issuing them cranial readjustments as well, so that they also become unhypnotized. And working together, they're able to trick Mother Mae-Eye, making her think that they're hypnotized again so that they can get close. They cause one of her spells to double back on her, turning her into a pie, which seems odd because that's not what her powers do. She was going to literally bake them into a pie so that she could consume them. So I assume that she can't turn people into pies, or at least that's what I would have assumed if I hadn't literally seen her turn herself into a pie, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And then, for some reason at the end, they deliver that pie to the Hive 5, because now that I think about it, Mother Mae-Eye did get into the Titan's Tower by disguising herself as a pie. So she can turn herself into a pie, I guess. I don't know, it just seems strange that that's what she would have been trying to do in that moment, was disguise someone as a pie. I don't know what happened. Point is, they defeat her by turning her into a pie, and then they leave the pie for the Hive 5 to find. Keep in mind that Mother Mae-Eye's endgame for the Titans was to eat them. And she's already beaten the Hive 5 once before. It seems like they were trying to kill the Hive 5, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that as an ending. Thought it was stupid, but I thought the whole episode was pretty stupid, so honestly, I shouldn't be surprised by that. Neither should you. I don't know what to say about this one. It's bad as it is, but it's made even worse by the fact that it could have been so much better. First of all, Mother Mae-Eye is too powerful, but if you want her to be that powerful, if it was imperative for her to be that powerful, then why give her the powers that they did? I don't understand. Her whole thing is that she feeds off of the love that the Titans express towards her, or feel for her, or something along those lines. But she wants to consume all of that love at once, so she's going to bake them into a pie and eat them. But that's stupid. That's absolutely stupid. First of all, keeping them alive and feeding off of them over a long period of time, since this doesn't seem to harm them physically at all, would be the superior strategy, right? Just in general, rather than immediately using up her entire current food supply. It's dumb entirely for that reason, for the reason that that was what she wanted to do in the first place. But then, why the Teen Titans? Like, again, I mentioned they had to bring her into the tower disguised as a pie in order for all this to happen for some reason. But they get the pie from who I'm assuming was just another form of Mother Mae-Eye herself. A Cyborg described her as a gypsy woman, I think. So if she has the ability to trick people into taking her pie home, why not just send herself to an orphanage or something, and then become the caregiver at that orphanage and feed off all the kids there forever? Wouldn't that be a better strategy, a better plan? It's just nothing that she does makes sense. And then on top of that, she has all these powers. She can summon hypnotizing pies, but she can't hypnotize people directly. Okay, so maybe her thing is that she can just summon baked goods with various superpowers. That seems reasonable, since she also creates giant hulking gingerbread men to fight for her, and they have the power to reconstruct themselves from pieces of other fallen gingerbread men when they're destroyed. So they could have just stopped at making that her power. Something like that applied effectively would have been able to take down the Hive 5. She doesn't need all of the reality warping powers that they also give her, that make her seem like a threat on par with somebody like Larry, which, I'm sorry, but they never would have been able to beat her if that was the case. If she was somebody like Larry, who had as much experience doing this as it's implied that she has, right? But I don't even think that would have been the right way to go with this. Think about it for a second. she's trying to insert herself into their lives as their mother figure, and they're the Teen Titans. So what I would have done in the case of this episode is I would have made her a benevolent being, or at least a being who is trying to be benevolent, who, seeing the Titans as heroes, and yes, I know that there's going to be some parallels between this concept and the Larry episode. I'm aware of that. Please ignore them. There's going to be enough other differences that I think it would still work. But anyway, I would have made her a benevolent being, or at least a being who was trying to be benevolent, who saw how heroic the Titans were and wanted to give them a better life. Maybe she wanted to give them a normal life. Maybe she just wanted to take care of them when they weren't on missions or whatever. So she casts the spell using her vast magical powers to insert herself into their lives. They believe that she's always been there, but she genuinely cares about them, and the spell did include her becoming like a mother to them. It's affected her behavior a little bit as well, so she tries to restrict them and control them and rein them in, but they're teenagers. They're the Teen Titans. In an episode where an adversary takes the place of their collective mother, take advantage of that. Take advantage of the fact that they're teenagers and have them give her a lot of crap simply because they're teenagers, to the point that she eventually gets fed up and starts using her powers on them. That's why they come to conflict at the end. But in the end, they can still trick her if you want, but in the end, they manage to take her down a peg long enough that she realizes that she's just making things worse, and that's never what she wanted to do. And then she just leaves, right? How cool would that have been? It would have, in some ways, kind of been the Larry episode 2.0, but it would have been a lot better than that. Most things would have been a lot better than that. I don't like the episode at all. I do kind of like that Starfire got to take charge throughout at least part of it. And I will admit, I did find the scene where she was suiting them all up in like the sweater and the bunny suit and stuff. I found that funny, but I didn't laugh at it. I did, however, laugh at the scene where Starfire, I'm assuming at least, cussed Mother Mae-Eye out in Tamaranian. I thought that was pretty funny because she felt like a teenager who was mad at her mother. That joke took advantage of the exact scenario that my hypothetical version of this episode would have. Otherwise, though, this episode is nothing. It feels like nothing. I doubt I will even remember the details of this episode by tomorrow afternoon. If you are doing a rewatch of the show, unless this is one that just really speaks to you and you genuinely want to rewatch it for whatever reason, I think this is probably one you could skip. I halfway wish I had just skipped it myself, because I doubt any of you guys would have even noticed if I had, frankly. All that said, though, what do you guys think of the Teen Titans episode Mother Mae-Eye? Just makes no sense. This whole episode makes no sense. But what do you guys think of it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below or over on my Discord. Link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.